Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. So this is the topic that many of you in the comment section said that we will never address because apparently, supposedly, we are PBC homers. But of course that's not true, and we are willing to talk about all topics on this channel and welcome your feedback as well. Last night we saw Adrien Broner against Blair Cobb, and not unexpectedly, Adrien Broner lost. And it was a pretty conclusive loss as far as I'm concerned. I know Adrien Broner walked to the back and thought that he won that fight. Adrien absolutely did not win the fight last night. Blair Cobb was successful. And I went into that fight believing that that's exactly what was going to happen. Now, we saw a recent string of events that happened over the last, let's call it 18 months, most notably with PBC fighters, Errol Spence. We saw what happened with Wilder, not only against Tyson Fury, but also Joseph Parker. We saw what just recently happened with Zhang. We saw what happened with Jermell Charlo when he faced Canelo Alvarez, and we also saw what happened with Maul in this last fight. And Maul hasn't lost yet, but just everything going on with his personal life, it feels like it's the end of an era. And, all these guys were friends, including Gervonta Davis. Gervonta Davis, of course, is still representing. He is the face of boxing. But there seems to be, a changing of the guard. Now, well, I can't even say if it's a changing of the guard because it does feel like it's the end of an era. Because that PBC era over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, and all those guys were the main stars in boxing. And now it seems like with some of these losses, they seem to be conclusive. Now, we know Errol Spence only lost one time, and Errol has the opportunity to get his get back. But regardless, the loss was so conclusive and so bad that many people are going to conclude that, it's the end, right? It's the end of the era for not only Errol Spence, but the rest of those fighters. And it's hard to really argue that. Errol's 33. I think the Charlo's around 33, 34. Tank is, I think, 29. Broner's about 34. Deontay Wilder's about to be 38, I believe. So these guys are aging stars. And to be quite honest with you, I don't know who the next crop of stars are coming out of PBC. Gervonta Davis is the biggest star in the sport outside of Canelo Alvarez, so they still got a mega star over there. But outside of him, I'm not sure. Now, a lot of people they're going to take this as, yeah. Now you realize it's PBC. We told you. But at the end of the day, you really got to think about it. I feel that everybody's in a precarious situation as it relates to who's the next star in the sport. What other stars do we have to help carry the sport? We got Tank. Canelo's still a star, but, he's about 34, 35, something like that. So he's aging. Terence Crawford is about 36, I believe. So he's about to, move. I think Terence maybe have 1-2 more fights. Probably same with Canelo. David Benavidez has the potential to be a star. Boots Ennis has the potential to be a star. But there's not many other. I mean, Ryan Garcia is a head case. He had the potential to be a star, but he's a head case. Shakur, he isn't really drawing many fans right now. Neither is Devin. So who's the next batch of fighters? And I don't even think they really have the personality to really draw people in either, like Devin or Shakur Stevenson. So who's that next generation of star? I mean, I think the sport has an issue in general in terms of building stars. And I feel that era is coming to a close. If it's not closed, it's about to be closed. And again, I'm not saying that, some of those fighters can't come back and get big wins. I think Mel can come back and get a big win. Maul seems to be in a precarious situation. I think, Spence is positioning himself to get an opportunity to get a big win. But even if those gentlemen do come back and win, it still feels like this era, from a PBC standpoint, and at least with those fighters who were the stars as far as I'm concerned, carrying the sport, and the fighters that every other promoter was trying to match their fighters with or tie their fighters to in order to generate sales and drive the sport forward. it's just not there anymore. And Top Rank hasn't proven that they can build a star here recently, as far as I'm concerned. Teofimo is, Teofimo gonna be a big star? It just doesn't feel like it. So, you know, I would say Eddie Hearns has some work to do. A lot of people are relying on Turki Alalshikh. Turki Alalshikh is the savior. And although, a recent fight with Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk did 1.5 million pay-per-view buys, that only generated $50 million of revenue. Just $50 million. Now, they did get another $40 million from advertisement and another $3 million or so. So that's $93 million. But if I'm not mistaken, their purses alone were around $100 million and maybe even in excess of $100 million. So I don't know if Turki Alalshikh is really the solve for boxing, because at some point, the Turkish government is going to want to make money, or at least break even. So I don't know if Turki Alalshikh is the answer. I feel like these promoters who are familiar with their territories, the Eddie Hearns of the world, the Oscar De La Hoyas, and although Al Heyman is not a promoter, Al Heyman, they are going to have to figure out how to move the sport forward. They're going to have to figure out how to build additional stars. And regardless, if you like Bill Haney or not, I think Bill Haney is actually good for building a star, right? Not to say that Devin Haney has become a big megastar, but, because I think stylistically it prevents him from being that. And then he doesn't have a mouthpiece. But Bill does have a great mouthpiece, and he helps promote his son. So getting your fighter out there and being more exposed is important. So we got to see who's going to be the next star. Most stars, believe it or not, as far as I'm concerned, have been built off YouTube. That's where I learned about all the fighters that I was following, off of YouTube. So I know YouTube content creators get a lot of slander and things of that nature because we have to come on and give an opinion. But I have been of the mindset for quite some time that someone talking about you is always good, whether they're criticizing you or otherwise. Your name is out there. So, maybe some of these individuals should be, should be making these fighters more accessible to content creators so that we can push them. You never know. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. Those are my thoughts. But I definitely think there's an end of an era. All these promoters and entities are going to have to figure out a way to create additional stars, new stars that people are interested in. A lot of the younger crop, I just don't see a lot of people really gravitating towards those fighters. I do see Devin Haney. He has some bit of traction on, social media outlets, but it's not translating into pay-per-view sales. Tank is the biggest star in the sport. We still got him. And he got, several more, I say a few more years to fight for sure. But outside of him, Boots has the potential, definitely from a skill set perspective, but he's not very vocal, and that may hinder him as well. I love Boots, but that could hinder him. So we'll see what ends up happening. But it feels like there's an end of an era. You guys thought I wouldn't talk about it. Definitely would. And I'm confirming that it just feels like that generation of fighters, they're on their way out, and we have to usher in a new generation of fighters. And hopefully, we'll see some fighters start to build some traction here in the next few years. You guys tell me what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Angry Man Podcast, AM Sports Media, and I am out.